Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that I'm here. My name is Larry Kluger. I'm a lead developer advocate for us at DocuSign. We are hosting the Good Code Hackathon along with a number of other groups, the Jane Goodall Institute and Esri. And the purpose of this half hour is to answer your questions. So I look forward to seeing your questions. Do that through the comments screen, and looking forward to helping you out. Meanwhile, what I'm going to do is checking out one of Quick Starts just to see how that's doing these days. And the Quick Starts, pushed the wrong button. The Quick Starts are our code examples available from the Developer Center. So that's developers.docusign.com. And then we want to, well, the easiest way is we just say eSignature REST API right here. I can answer questions on some of the other APIs too. But I'm going to be focusing myself more on the eSignature API. So the eSignature API, we have a quick start that helps out with two things. One is that it will set up your client ID. Now at DocuSign, we also use integration key as a synonym, as a perfect synonym for client ID. Integration key is what we, now that we've been focusing on using OAuth for authentication for the last about four or 5 years, the standard term for OAuth is to say client ID. So what we're going to do here, so this quick start does two things. One is it sets up your client ID for you. And then the second thing it does is it customizes and enables you to download a code example, a quite complete and large code example that has many different parts to it. So the way we do this is first we have to log in, and we use our developer account. Developer accounts, of course, are free. So I'm going to do that here. Okay, and then I'm going to name it. I'm going to name it Good Code Hackathon, and I'm going to do Node. We have code examples for all these different languages that can be customized for you. And if you want to use iOS or Android, we have those SDKs as well, but they're not plugged into Quick Start at this time. Okay. So there we go. And now here's our zip file. And I'll just leave it in downloads, I guess. So I'll save that. And now I'll show it. I'm running on a Mac. So let's see here. Here it is, Good Code Hackathon. So let me unzip it. And now here it is. Now the config file is all set up, and that's one of the benefits of the Quick Start system, is that it's created the client ID and all the associated information on the DocuSign system, and then it's also filled in the blanks for the configuration file, and that's what is all this in here, app settings.json. Okay, so let's get this program running. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code I'm going to open up that folder. So let me go over to downloads and then Good Code Hackathon. There it is. And here we are. Okay. So let's open up the terminal. And these different steps are shown in the README, but I know what they are. And we want to install the dependencies. So npm install. Okay, and now npm start. Great. So now we need to open this up. And I think if I do command click, it'll do that. Here we are. Okay, so this step is expected. This is consent. So we are doing the OAuth authorization code grant flow here to log in. And also it's interesting that it immediately initiated a login sequence rather than us needing to click login or authenticate or something like that. And there's these are the different styles and ways of doing things for your application. So we are already logging in. We're in the process of logging in, and we're using the OAuth authorization code grant flow, as I said. Now we've authenticated ourselves. The next step is have we, the person logging in, have I grant consent to this client ID, to this application? The answer is no, I haven't done that yet. So I'm being asked to do it. And so Good Code Hackathon is requesting permission to do the following. So this is what we call, so we request permissions with a scope. And in fact, up here, you can see this is the initial leg of the initial stage of OAuth authorization code grant. If you're not familiar with it, you can see right here, this is what we call the OAuth service provider. And these are, I'm trying to use the official terms that the OAuth community uses. And we're requesting response type of code. So what we're going to get back is an authorization code, and later the application itself is going to exchange that code for a access token. That's our goal, is to get the access token. Now, what we're also doing is giving the redirect URI. And that, whoops, what happens here? The redirect URI, tell you what, I'm going to have to do it this way. Where's the redirect URI? Okay, so I can highlight it this way. Okay, so what you're seeing there, what's been highlighted is the redirect URI. Now it's been URL encoded, and so what it actually is, you can probably guess, is HTTP : that's %3a is a colon, // %2f is a slash, HTTP : / localhost, and then another colon 5000. That's the port number, and then slash %2f is slash ds for DocuSign slash callback. So that is a particular URL that my application is expecting to be called upon by the authorization code grant process. And so it's expected to be called there. Now that's what's called a redirect URI, and it needs to be registered, in fact, with the client ID. That's part of the security systems of OAuth. So that was part of the setup, in fact, that Quickstart did for us. Scope is signature. Scope is essentially the permissions. So we're asking, so this application is asking to obtain the scope of signature. Now, signature enables you to do, as it says here, create and send envelopes, create links for starting signing sessions. It also enables you basically to do everything involving envelopes, and not just envelopes, but also templates. Everything with the eSignature API right now is under the one scope called signature, both the management functions and all the creating, changing, reading, everything to do with eSignature API. We have other APIs, and they involve, most of them have other scopes that you would need to obtain permission and consent before you can use them. Then there's the state parameter right here, and this is used to prevent various attacks that people sometimes try to do, replay attacks, other types of attacks. And the solution to guard against that is to have I believe it's called a nonce, something that's used once and is different each time, and that's sent by the application to DocuSign, and then later it will receive it back. And so your application can then check whether it's the same, what was received back was the same as what it's sent. And if so, then it knows that someone wasn't trying to replay an earlier session or something like that. The next you see here is client ID. And client ID is, in fact, the integration key, the client ID. And with OAuth, client ID is not secret. Client ID is the public identification number, or as you can see, it's a GUID for your application. And so again, when the Quickstart system created the new client ID or the new integration key for you, this is what was created. And that's as we expected. Now, we've already gone back and forth, and so this is additional stuff that is /challenge/app consent. That's additional stuff that was added on by DocuSign. And so as a result, we now are being being asked to grant consent. So I'm going to say accept. Hopefully there was no timeout involved there. Okay, so what this code example does now, this code example is a large system, and it's has many different examples in it. And then it's also got a supporting framework that supports all those code examples. So a couple things here. Number one is that typically after the first authentication with DocuSign, whether you're using authorization code grant or JWT or implicit, any one of our 3 OAuth flows that we support, what you then end up with and what you've been trying to get is an access token. Now, an access token enables you to make API calls, so that's good. But you almost always need more than the access token. In particular, the access token is tied to someone who's what we call a member of an account, who's a user on a DocuSign account, and and you need to know almost always what account ID you're going to use. So you also typically want to know what's the name of that person. So you can say, as you can see over here on the far right, so you can say, welcome, Larry Kluger. And you also want to know, as I say, which account ID. Now, the issue about account IDs is that the user can have more than one. They can be a member of multiple accounts, and that's not uncommon. So, but to answer both questions, you use another API call, which is OAuth/user info. And user info gives you back information about the current user. And the information it gives back is the name of the user, their email, and information about their different accounts. So now what this application is doing, it's showing us this first example, which is embedded signing. So I can just go right ahead and say submit. And what it's doing is 2 things. One is it's creating an envelope That's our main transaction system. And then it is obtaining what we call a recipient view token. And recipient view, what that really means is is embedded signing. Now, something you might notice is what it really did is it created a second tab. And the reason for that is we very much recommend that you do not use iframes. And so then the question is, oh, excuse me, it didn't create a tab. It redirected. So there's no iframe here. What happened is that we were running the application and we said we wanted to do embedded signing, and then the entire application replaced itself. It redirected the browser to DocuSign. And then when we're done with this is what we call the signing ceremony for embedded signing. When we're done with this, you'll see we'll go back to our code example application. So this is embedded signing, and it's got one sign here. That's all there is to it. And then we'll click finish. And now you'll see this has gone back to our application, which is running on localhost 5000. Now it's going back to a particular URL of DS return. That's why it's showing this. And so let's look at what was sent back. State 123 was in fact provided to DocuSign when we said to DocuSign, give me a URL for a signing ceremony. And as part of that transaction, we say to, or that API request, we say to DocuSign, here is the return URL that you should redirect the signer to once they've finished with the signing ceremony. So what we told DocuSign was all of this, including the HTTP in front, that all of this is the redirect URL that should be used for sending the signer's browser back to the application once they're done with the signing ceremony. The other part of this, there's a query parameter here. So state is just to be a demonstration that you can send state and then get the state back. It's optional. Event equals signing underscore complete is a different issue. Signing complete is and the query parameter event is generated by DocuSign by the signing ceremony, and that tells us what happened. And now signing complete means, of course, the person finished signing. But there is a but here, which is that this entire URL, the user was redirected here by DocuSign. So this is all kosher. But you can imagine that a bad person could also simply make this API call. They could be using your application, and then they see how it works, and they could then just spoof it. And that would indicate that you've signed, but you really haven't signed. So because of that possibility, that's because this URL right here is not digitally signed. So what that means is that you don't want to make a business decision based on the fact that this says signing complete. Instead, to find out whether the recipient really did sign or not, you need to get that data directly from DocuSign in a way that is secure. And there's two ways to do that. One is you can ask us by making an API call to DocuSign and saying, what is the status of this particular envelope? The other way is that DocuSign can proactively tell you through our Webhook system and say, and we can send you a notification message to your application that says this is the new status of the envelope. The new status is that the first recipient signed, or everyone signed, or whatever you want to know. Now, then you might be saying to yourself, well, self, how do I, Larry just said that it could be spoofed, right? And so the answer is that when the message comes from DocuSign via our Webhook system, we can set up a number of different ways so that your application can assure itself that that notification of a new status of the envelope really came from DocuSign. We can do what's called mutual TLS, where DocuSign will send you its digital certificate. It's essentially it's a digital certificate using the public key infrastructure, PKI. That's one way. Or we can include as a header in the notification messages, we can include what's called an HMAC digital signature. That is a signature that gives you the application, you the recipient of this message, gives you the assurance that the message not only came from DocuSign, but was not in any way changed during transmission, during transit. So in these different ways, you can find out and guarantee that the message came from DocuSign. Okay, so let's see what else this system has. And the answer is that we've got many different code examples here. And so with each one of these code examples, you can see how they are set up, and you can try them out, and then see the underlying code. So let's look at the underlying code. That's right here, remember. You can see there's some, also gives you some information about what's going on. It did the authorization code grant. It received back the access token and the refresh token and the expiration. The expiration for authorization code grant is 8 hours. And then you can renew it by using the refresh token. Okay, so to look at the configuration of the Quickstart program, we can go over here, and basically I believe everything is in lib. Yes. So we've got code examples as part of this package for a number of different APIs. The Click API and eSignature, Monitor, and Rooms. And we'll be adding more in the future. So now if we look under eSignature, here are the examples. And the examples, or rather the layout that you see here is similar for this code example in all the different languages. So if you look at the Ruby one, things will be laid out in a similar way. Same for C#, and PHP, Java, and so forth. Now, there's one code example that's in a special location, which is a code example that sort of first popped up just to get everything going. And you can see that's at the top level here. So this is eSignature embedded signing. So let's see how this was put together. You don't need this. So what happens is first we're checking whether the token is okay, the access token, and then we are calling what we call the worker method. And this is all set up. These are all the parameters. So if we look down here, oh, the worker method has been moved now. Okay. So now we got to figure out where the worker method is. I guess this is it. It's in lib eSignature examples. Lib eSignature examples. Okay, and It doesn't have a number, so I have to look at it. Embedded signing. Embedded signing. Okay, now we found it. So what we've got here is okay, first we're setting up the SDK. So the SDK, first we're creating what's called the API client. We're setting the base path. We're setting the authentication by doing that, by setting the authorization header. And now we have multiple parts of within the SDK, and we want the envelopes part. And so that's envelopes API. Oh, we have a question. All right. I am glad to have a question. John says, I was looking for an example that utilizes an HTML-based form to populate fields. If memory serves me correctly, I think that the only example that uses this is the collect payments one, which we can't access as far as I can tell. Is there another? Yes. So the other one is, I don't know what's named, so we'll have to go backwards to find it. So it's example number 2, and this is using I think it's up here. This is confusing to me. Call the worker method. Oh, this one is, I think is here. Okay, here it is, make envelope. All right, so you see this file, EG, well, I don't know what language you're using. EG002 signing via email. Okay, so what we can do here, one of these documents is in fact, I think that's this one here, document 1, is in fact an HTML file. And I believe we got that defined right here. Here we go. So this is, I hope this is what you're asking about. So this is an example of creating a document, and we are going to send the document to DocuSign, and the document type is HTML. And because of that, what it means is that you can put in, you can obviously write this the way you want. Your code can customize this as necessary. Now, in addition, we are going to include a place for the person to sign. And the way we are doing that is right here. So what we're saying is part of the document says agreed, and then it's going to be the person's signature. And then what we've got is this part right here, sorry, just up to the end of the span. And what we're doing is we're putting double asterisk, signature underscore 1 double asterisk in white. So this is what we call an anchor text. And we want it to be unique so it doesn't get confused with anything else in the document, in the HTML document. And then what we do, if I can even search for this, it's probably the easiest way. Okay, then what we do is we create a sign here object, a tab, and we say that the anchor string, oops, hello. The anchor string is going to be this, star signature underscore 1. And so the net result is when you run this example, that the third document is going to be HTML. Is it the third document? I think it's the first document, is the HTML document. And you can see right here that we say the file extension is HTML, and then it's going to be turned into PDF. So let's see how that works. So right here, I'm going to say send an envelope like that, and I'm going to use my work thing, and this will be, I don't know, None of that part matters. So in this case, we're sending off the envelope. This envelope has got 3 documents in it. So now, if I open up my mail and okay, this is what I just received. All right. Okay. So now I click Review Documents. Okay. So what you can see here, this is the document that was sent to DocuSign as an HTML. And you can see that the HTML, you can do inline CSS. You cannot do external CSS files. And you can see that this right here is all a part of the HTML document. And then this is, remember it said agreed, and then this is where you sign. Now, you can include images, but you have to include them within the document. The way you do that is with the data URL type. And so you can take an image and turn it into a data URL, then use an IMG tag, and then it'll end up in the document. So this enables you to very easily create a custom document, and then you can also create, you can add tabs and things like that. So now we can sign it. This one was a Word document. This one was a PDF document. And now I'm all done. There we go. Now, there is an alternative way. So do I want to log in? No. Okay, fine, I'm all done. The alternative way to do this is through what we call smart sections. And this tells you how you can write API code to do this. And Smart Sections enables you to have the person is going to look at and sign can have parts of it where you can push, where you can click and it will expand and open up or close and do various other things. And so you can do that. You can send them either, the original can either be a PDF or it can be HTML. And so it's, we talk about it here, and we also have it within the Developer Center. Let's see if we can find it within the Developer Center. Developer DocuSign, Smart Sections. So we've got some, this is a video I would definitely recommend. Here's another video. That's what we looked at. And it doesn't look like we have it yet in the Developer Center. So so we don't have examples there. But if you have more questions about that, you can ask on the Slack channel. Okay, so I think that we are at the end of our time today. I hope that was of help, John. And thank you, John, and everybody else who is looking into this hackathon and thinking about how they can create a great entry. I wish you all great success with your entries. As you can see in the comments, please head over to Slack. We monitor that, and we will be responding there. And also check out our Twitch schedule. We're going to have many more Twitch sessions that you are welcome to join. John, thanks for your comment there. So At the first level, which can really get you quite far, you can implement with HTML as I showed. And remember again, that's example number 2. This one right here includes HTML. And then if you want to go to a further level, look into smart sections. So thanks again. So long from my office cave here, and I wish you great success with the hackathon. Bye-bye.